All right, looks like we're starting to slow down in terms of folks joining us. They're still coming in, but for the sake of time, I want to be respectful of the time of those of you that are on the line. We do thank you for joining us. My name is Lillian Barnes. I am the Grants Online Operations Manager. I'm going to share my screen just a second so that we can get started. So just give me a minute here. And all right, you should now see the Grants Online screen. And I'm going to start, however, with some PowerPoint slides, and we will make these slides available to you. Actually, the entire presentation is being recorded, so we are going to make this presentation available to you somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks after today. We need to have some time to edit it before we post it online, but we will be posting it online within the next 4 weeks or so. If you want to know where to find it once we post this webinar online, you can get it from our training pages. If you are on the Grants Online login screen and you want to get to the training pages, you can click on this link right here that says Grants Online Training, and it takes you directly to our publicly available website where our training pages are available. From this page, you would scroll down and click on Grant Recipient Training Resources, and on that screen, item number 4 is where we post the recordings of the webinars that we do. So sometime in the near future, you will see a new entry underneath item 4, and it will be the webinar that we are doing today. All right.
Hi, Lillian. I made it on. Sorry, I'm late.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so Bernadette Grafton is the EDA liaison between her agency and the Grants Online Program Management Office, which is the office I work for. Our office maintains the Grants Online system, and but your awards are come from the agency under the Department of Commerce called Economic Development Administration. So Bernadette, would you like to have any opening remarks before we get started?
I would. Thank you. So thank you to everyone who is on the webinar today. I think this is a really valuable opportunity that you guys are taking advantage of just to kind of see directly some aspects of the system and have a chance to ask questions and get them answered one-on-one instead of having to kind of follow up later, which you are definitely welcome to do, but this is a really great opportunity. So thank you all for being here. One of the things that we're going to be focusing on today is the closeout process. So everybody is going to have to go through this at one point or another, whether you're here on the webinar today, having already been in Grants Online for a couple of years and are ready to close out, or you just received an award, this is relevant to you. So pay attention. There's definitely some minor details that are very important that you'll need to pay attention to in terms of process. So this is a really key component of your grant award, is making sure you're closing everything out in a timely manner, and also that you're achieving all of the milestones along the way. So thank you again. We'll be covering a few other things, but the major point today is on closeout. So take it away, Lillian.
Thank you, Bernadette. And Bernadette will be jumping in as needed because she is, again, the representative for EDA, and she will be keeping me in check when it comes to EDA policies and processes. My main function is to help you know how to move around within the Grants Online system, what buttons to push and drop downs to select, and which options to choose in order to get the work done that you need to get done. So we will be working in tandem today to walk you through some of these processes. Also, yes, as Bernadette mentioned, we know that this is new to many of you, and it's actually new to us also in the Grants Online Program Management Office, because EDA is only within the last year or so just started closing out some of their awards. And so we're still actually tweaking the process a little bit. Please be aware that the Grants Online system was originally built for a different bureau under the Department of Commerce. It was developed for NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. EDA is one of the newer bureaus that is now using this system. However, and EDA has different business processes from NOAA, even though ultimately we all adhere to the Department of Commerce policies. But there's some slightly different business processes and some major different ones between EDA and NOAA. So we're still working on tweaking the system so that it's more useful for our EDA, both internal staff and our EDA customers. So please bear that in mind. All right, with that said, we're going to start out with the closeout processes as Bernadette mentioned. The first thing she wanted us to talk about was a notice, a closeout notice that you get when it's time to close out your award. This is one of the first things that we're going to have to work on tweaking for your group for EDA. Let me see if I can pull up a copy of that notice, because what's coming out of the Grants Online system right now is, again, it was originally designed for NOAA, and so it doesn't completely work for our EDA awards. There will be places within this notification that will display a 0 when there should be actually an amount displayed. And so that will throw you off a little bit. I understand that. I will be working with Bernadette, and we're going to see if we can get this notice modified so that it's more useful to you as a recipient. But just please remember, this is sort of a form letter that's coming out of the system, automatically being generated out of the system, and it is not right now picking up all of the information we need from our EDA data. So if you have questions about it, please feel free to contact the Grants Online Help Desk or contact your own EDA project officer, and they will explain to you what's going on with this notice. Okay, I'm not going to go into the details of it, but I did want to bring that to your attention. Close this out. And back to our slides. In addition to that closeout notice, you will get notices about your progress reports and your financial reports. You need to fill in, of course, your final progress and financial reports and get them into EDA before we can begin the closeout process. I want to bring to your attention a chart that we have available on our training site. So I'm going to go back to this training site, and I'm going to scroll down on this page towards the bottom. Number 15. Number 15 is the link to our notification chart. Let me make it a little bit bigger for you. And this chart will let you know how often we send out automatic notifications from the Grants Online system for each type of document. So the PPRs are our progress reports, and then you also have the SF-425 financial reports. Take a look at this chart. You get advance notices, you get notices when it's due, and then you're going to get more notices when it becomes delinquent, if and when it does become delinquent. So this chart will give you a schedule of whenever those notices will come out. So you will be able to know when to expect them, you will understand what's coming, and you will understand that these are automated notices that are coming out of our system to various people who are set up in Grants Online for your particular recipient organization. That's important for you to know. The people that get these notices are people who are set up in the Grants Online system. The system relies on the user accounts that are in the system to send these notices. For instance, for progress reports, the advance notifications are going to go to whoever is set up in the system as a recipient investigator or your PI. If nobody is set up with that role for your organization, then the notification is going to go to the authorized representative, or AOR, for your organization. So if you don't want that person getting these advance notices for these progress reports, you need to make sure that you have someone set up as the PI in the system. Just because you put a person's name in your project narrative when you send it into EDA does not get that person automatically set up in the system. That is something that must be done by the recipient administrator in your organization. And the recipient administrator, yes, go ahead, Bernadette.
Oh, I was just going to say, on that note, I think this is a good opportunity for me to encourage all of our grantees to make sure that there is more than one person assigned to various roles so that you avoid single points of failure. This is something that we've been encouraging to some of our grantees in our headquarters grant program. So I think this is just a best practice for you to have more than one person, if possible, set up in each role so that if somebody is out on sick leave or for another reason for an extended period of time, there's somebody else who has that role and who is knowledgeable about how to submit the required documents.
Thank you, Bernadette. Excellent. That will also help our Grants Online help desk quite a bit, because sometimes a user will call asking about an account, and we refer them back to your recipient administrator. And if you only have one person, that person's not available, it does delay getting the account questions answered, because we work through your recipient administrator when it comes to the accounts for the grantees at the grantee organization. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close out this chart, but remember, you can always find it again on this training site, and for you guys, it's number 15 on that page. All right, back to the Grants Online system. So I'm going to log in as a recipient, and let's take a look at a couple of grant files, and we are going to actually submit the documents that need to be submitted during the closeout. I'm sorry, I need to log in as the recipient. All right. Okay, one thing to know is that when it is time for you to begin submitting your closeout documents, you will not have any tasks in your inbox. You will get those notifications to your email, but we don't set up any tasks in your inbox. So when it is time for you to submit those final progress reports and financial reports, you need to just go into the system and look up your award using the Awards tab. You go to the Awards tab, search the awards. You can, if you only have one or two grants, you don't even have to put anything in the award number box. You can simply click search, and it will find all your awards. If you want to narrow it down, you can use the awards in the award box, in the award in the search awards, the award numbers field here. So now I'm going to narrow it down to just a few awards. And once you get the award results back, notice the various statuses you might see. Accepted means that you have someone in your organization, your authorized representative, has gone in and gone through the steps to accept this award, and we are now within the post-award period. It is before closeout. The award is not yet expired. You're doing the work, and so the status of that award will say accepted. Once the project end date has passed, the status of the award changes to expired, and we are now in our closeout period. At this point, you have a 90-day window to submit your final reports. Let's take a look at this particular expired award. So as we see, the award period ended on April the 30th. We have approximately 90 days, so our final reports are due on July the 29th. We have a couple of what we call placeholders on here for our final reports. We've got our final financial report and our final progress report that need to be submitted. They are not delinquent at this point because we have not reached July 29th. So you have the whole 90 days to submit your final reports. If you need more time to either draw down funds or submit your reports, there is an action in Grants Online that you may take. It is called an award action request, and the type is an extension to closeout. So once the award is expired, there are actually only two types of award action requests that you can submit. One is an ASAP drawdown request, which is allowing you to draw some funds down out of ASAP. And if you need more time to do your final closeout activities, not work on your project, because at this point your project is over, but you need more time to complete the closeout activities, maybe pay some invoices or more time to get back into ASAP and to draw some funds down, you can request an extension to the closeout. The only dates that this will affect will be this final report's due date. It will not affect the project period end date. There's a different type of request for that that's called a no-cost extension, and we will go over that a little bit later, but the no-cost extension can only be submitted before the end date of the project. So you have to submit it before the project actually ends. And that particular type of action will allow you to actually extend the end date of the project so that you can have more time to actually work on the project itself.
And on that note, just since you mentioned it, it's important that you don't submit, if you are going to do a no-cost extension to extend the period of performance, it's really important that you're working closely with your EDA project officer to coordinate what's required for that. And it's not something that you can just request on the last day. That's really an inefficient way to do it, and it could result in some delays and some issues, and we just want to make sure that everything is going as smoothly as possible so you can continue to do the work that you're doing. So this is something you should think about ahead of time if you need some more time to carry out your scope of work, and it's also something that you will do in very close coordination with your EDA project officer.
Okay.
That's all. Thank you.
We're going to first show you how to submit an extension to closeout after the award has expired, but you need more time to complete your final financial report or your final progress report, or to submit a drawdown request to draw down those final funds. So you would start by clicking on the drop down here, requesting an extension to closeout, submit. And on the next page that comes up, it defaults to 60 days. You have an option of 30, 60, or 90 days, but the default is 60 days. So you can take the default, or you may, again, as Bernadette has mentioned, you should actually be in communication with your project officer even before you submit this document. So they will advise you on which radio button to select. But let's go ahead and keep it at the default. Then you would type in some sort of a justification. And You probably have, or may not, have some documents that you need to attach to go along with this justification. In order to attach those documents, you must first click the Save button, and then the attachment widget will appear at the top, along with the ability for you to attach any files that you would like to attach to go along with this request for your extension to close out. Once your attachments are in, you click Save and Start Workflow. If you are an authorized representative, you will immediately get a task back in your inbox. If you are only a PI or a financial person, this request must be submitted to the agency through your authorized representative. So you will be able to move the task to that person, and then only the authorized representative can submit it to the agency. So since I'm logged in with a recipient role that has the authorized representative role on it, I can go ahead and forward to the agency. This big blue box underneath here is useful if you want to provide any comments to your project officer. They will go here. When you submit this task to the agency, they will get an email just like you do whenever they have a task in Grants Online, and anything that you type in that blue box is included on the email that goes to the person who will receive this task. So we're going to go ahead and click forward to the agency. And now you will have to wait for that person on the agency side to process this request. So now I'm going back to the grants file. I use my breadcrumbs at the top, and these will allow you to go to a page that you've already been on. We suggest that you do not use the back button up here. Grants Online is a little bit older technology. It was not written to really utilize that back button. So use your breadcrumbs up here to go to a prior page. So on the grants file, I'm going to just scroll down on the grants file, and I can see here that I have submitted my request to the agency, and it is now with the grant specialist. Just as an FYI, you're used to calling the person that you work with at the agency your project officer. In Grants Online, we don't actually have a role called project officer. The project officer in EDA actually wears two hats in Grants Online. It will say that they wear a hat of a program officer and a grant specialist. So sometimes when you're submitting your actions to the agency in Grants Online, it will look like it went to the grant specialist. Sometimes those actions will go to a program officer. Both of those roles are given to your project officers, so they will wear both hats on the agency side in the Grants Online system. So in order to actually do that extension to closeout and get that process, your project officer actually has to pick up that task, and they have to, let's see, I'm going to log in on a different system as that project officer, and I'm going to go ahead and take care of that particular request so that you can see the date actually change in the Grants Online system. So I'm logging in separately as a project officer. And I'm going to pick up that particular request that has come into me, into the agency. As a project officer, I have to review it, and then once I've done that, I have to actually send it on to a second step to the grants officer to put their final stamp of approval on it. Okay, let me log in as that person. All right. So I've had to log in as two different people within Grants Online. And now what I'm doing internally, which you can't see, is I am now approving that particular request. I'm going to refresh the screen, and you should now see a new date on this particular action. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Search Awards. I'm going to look up this same award. And as we look down at the grants file, notice that the date has now changed from a July date to a September date. So now you actually have more time to process your final reports, your project report, your final financial report, and also you have more time to submit requests to draw down funds out of ASAP. So if you need to do any of those things, you need to submit that extension to closeout. If it's getting close to that final date, and you still need to either submit your final financial report, your final progress report, or if you need to draw funds down out of ASAP, you need to go ahead and request that extension to closeout, because what it does, it also extends the date in ASAP for you to draw down your funds. That date extension in ASAP does not happen immediately like the date extension in Grants Online. We have to send a task on through to the person within our agency who manages your account in ASAP, and that person will then go into ASAP and extend the date in ASAP so that it matches this date in Grants Online. At that point, you will be able to submit an ASAP drawdown request and get your final funds. Are there any questions at this point, Yvette, that I need to answer? None at this point. Okay, so Yvette has reminded me that I have some polls out here, so I'm going to take a quick break, and we are at this point going to select one of our polls so we can get a little bit of interaction with our audience out there. So I'm going to launch this poll, and you should now see a poll that is asking, do you see it? No.
Yes,
okay. So this poll is asking you how often you log in to the Grants Online system, because we recognize that some of our grantees may only have to get into the system to submit a progress report or financial report. That could be once a year. That could be just twice a year. However, our financial folks might get in there a little bit more often so that you can submit those ASAP drawdown requests. So we're just curious as to how often you are having to log into Grants Online. You probably are noticing that every time you log in, you've got to reset your password, because there is a Department of Commerce policy that says our passwords must change, and it used to be 90 days. It is slowly changing to 60 days, so it's getting even more stringent in terms of how often we have to change our own passwords. And unfortunately for you, that also extends to our grantees. So if you get into Grants Online only once every 3 months or so, you probably need to change your password every time you log in. The system will allow you to change your own password as long as you set up your security questions. You do not need assistance from the help desk to change your password. It will prompt you to change your own password if it's expired, and if you need to change it on your own, you can answer your security questions and change your password. So, as I'm looking at this poll, it looks like the majority, 45%, get in once or twice a month. So you actually get in more often than I thought. And then the next largest group of you get in about once every 6 months. So that's more what I was thinking, about once every 6 months or so. All right, thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and close out this poll here. And we'll go ahead and get back to what we were doing in Grants Online. Let me flip back to our agenda. I want to make sure I stay on course here. I've got my agenda over here in a little Word document. So we talked about notices, extension to closeout versus no cost extension. Let's go ahead and submit our financial report. The financial closeout process really is internal, so we're not going to go through that whole process with the grantees, but we will go ahead and submit our final financial report. Let's do this. Before we submit our final financial report, if you look at this grants file, I don't have any ASAP drawdown requests, which means that I have not yet requested my funds. This grant was made for $100,000, so let's go ahead and put in our ASAP drawdown request first so that we can request our funds. That is done from the grants file. On the drop down here, here's to submit ASAP drawdown request. And remember, we are in the closeout period. The award has expired, but you're still able to submit your ASAP drawdown request during the closeout period. We're going to do that. We're going to put in today's date, 05, 09, 2019. We're going to request the whole amount. And the period is the entire award period. I think this award started in 2017, and it's going to go to 4/30, 2019. Total expenditures is the whole amount. We're making it pretty easy here. Zero funds previously requested. Our justification goes here. To organization for funds expended to complete this project. All right, so here's our request. Now, the EDA process includes you uploading an SF-270 form. I'm not going to do that right now for the sake of time, but in order to upload that attachment, you must first click the Save button here, and that gives you the attachment widget to allow you to upload your SF-270 form. Once that's uploaded, you would click Save and Start Workflow, and forward to the agency. Okay, at this point, we have now submitted it to the agency. Let's take a look at the grants file. I'm going to use our breadcrumb at the top to go back to our grants file. And now we see that our ASAP request has been submitted to the agency and is in the inbox of our project officer with their grant specialist hat on. I'm going to go ahead and on my other system, I'm going to log in as the project officer. I'm going to pick up your request. And I'm going to accept that request. Let's see what happens when I've done that, what the status looks like. So I'm going to search awards, pick it up again. And notice the status has changed, and a new person has that task. It is the person at our agency who will get into ASAP and release those funds, release that request that you put in so that you can get your funds. Okay? I'm now logging in as that person. And at this point, what has happened is you have submitted your SF-270 document to the agency. The agency has now, EDA has now reviewed your SF-270. Once they accept that particular request in Grants Online, an email notification gets sent back to the recipient organization, excuse me, and it lets you know that your SF-270 has been accepted. Now it is time for you at that point to go into ASAP and submit your request for your funds. The ASAP authorizer is now waiting for you to submit that request so that they can go in and release it. So that is what this task is for them to release it. I have now done that. So if we search the awards again, we'll see that task is now changed again. And we now see it has been approved. So you should, at this point, the money is being transferred from the Treasury's ASAP system into your bank account. All right. We still have 2 reports that need to be submitted before the agency, before EDA, can begin their closeout process. You must submit your final progress report. So that is done by clicking on that link. There is no task in your inbox, no workflow. You click on the link, and you upload your attachment, whatever your report is. Okay, this is your final progress report. Save the attachment, and save and start workflow. Very easy. Forward it to the agency. Okay, so now that has been submitted. There's an amendment here. This amendment came into your inbox before the award expired, but now the award has expired. Let's see what can be done on this amendment. It can still be accepted or declined. Now, this is a non-happy path. I normally don't do this, so I don't really know what's going to happen, but I'm going to try to accept the amendment. And let's go back and look at our grants file. So the system did allow that amendment to be accepted so that it would be a clean grants file as you're going through the closeout process. Bernadette, we'll need to just touch bases with you. If you don't want them to be able to accept an amendment during the closeout period, we need to touch bases on that, okay?
All right. Yeah, we'll discuss, because I think it just depends on the amendment.
Nature, yeah, I think it does depend on the specific circumstances. So it's probably better to allow it to happen, and then you can work with the grantee if there's some extenuating circumstances that they shouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yes, we have some questions.
One person says, is an SF-270 required for all EDA recipients? They've never completed one.
Okay, so the question, let me repeat it, is the SF-270 required for all EDA recipients when you are requesting your ASAP drawdown? And this
yes.
Bernadette, you're saying yeah?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay, well,
require 70 for any reimbursement request.
What about if it's an advance request?
Okay, there are a couple of programs in EDA that have slightly different requirements because they're standard. I apologize, I'm going to correct what I just said. We have a couple of EDA programs where there are regular payments and it's standard and it's not dependent on a particular thing. So in that case, you do not need an SF-270. But again, this is something you should have in your award documents as far as instructions.
Conditions. Okay.
So
Okay.
review your documents in your award file, and if you don't know, ask your project officer.
All right, there's your answer right there. So there are just a couple of special programs that do not have to submit that SF-270 because of the way you're set up to get regular payments. If you're not one of those special programs, and if that's not in your award conditions, then you are in the rest of the group that, yes, you must submit an SF-270 with your ASAP drawdown request. Any other questions right now? Okay, that's it for now. All right. Let's go ahead and fill in our final financial report. And you've got a bunch of data fields here. We're just going to kind of do it real easily. Because it's in the training system, I can't use the system to click on that link. So I'm just going to go ahead and make things nice and even here. Everything was zero down here for the, let's see, funds authorized was this. Share of expenditures, same amount. Unliquidated obligations is zero. There was no recipient share, no income, no program income. And I am not going to fill in these boxes here because I'm totally unfamiliar with indirect expenses, but hopefully you know what needs to go into those boxes. At this point, I'm just going to go ahead and click Save and Start Workflow.
Just a quick note, Lillian, if people have any indirect costs on their budget of their award, you would report your indirect cost rate in this section, in section 11. We do have guidance on how to fill this out, and if you haven't seen it yet, we can make sure that it is made available on our website. But yes, you definitely need to fill out this section if you have an indirect cost rate to apply to your direct costs that you are collecting on. If you don't have an indirect cost rate, or if you're not collecting on indirects, you don't need to fill this section out. So I just wanted to clear that up.
That is why we are a team, Bernadette.
Yep.
So thank you. All right, guys. So just in Grants Online, in terms of pushing the buttons, I'm going to click Save and Start Workflow. Let's see if we get any error messages. No error messages, so I must have put at least something right in each of the boxes. I can now forward it to the agency. All right, let's take a look at our grants file again. How are we doing with all of these documents that need to be taken care of? Now, everything now has been forwarded to the agency. So at this point, the agency can go ahead and accept your final reports, and they would get going with the closeout process. Once the closeout process is completed, there will be one more email that is sent back to you as a recipient to let you know when the award has been closed. Let me see if we have that one. Just a minute. I'm going to go on our website. And right here, letter J, closed award notification. This is sort of an old version of it, but it has basically the information that will come back to you. The award has been closed by our agency on whatever date, and it just gives you the basic details of that particular award. There's actually a little bit more wording on that now. We'll probably put an updated notice on there too, but that's basically the information you get on your closeout notice. All right, let's go back and look at our agenda real quick. Let me look at the PowerPoint slides, see how we're doing. We talked about the extension to closeout. Oh, yes, there's a note on the financial closeout that is very important for me to let you know. You may actually be submitting multiple ASAP drawdown requests towards the end of your award. Once you submit one, actually once you start one in Grants Online, You cannot start another one until after you submit the first one that you started. It must be submitted before you can start another award action request. So you cannot have two of them on your side going at the same time. If you create an award action request and you create that ASAP drawdown request, then as long as it's still sitting on the recipient side, if you go to the grants file and select Create ASAP Drawdown Request again, it's going to bring up that same document with the data in it that you've already entered. It will not allow you to do a second one until after you have have submitted that particular one to the agency. Another point, and this is really more internally for the EDA staff, but all of the ASAP drawdown requests have to be completed in the system before they can approve your final financial report. So that's another thing. Make sure you guys get all of your ASAP drawdown requests in the system, because your final financial report is supposed to reporting everything that you've done financially. So you should get all of your ASAP requests in first, and then once all of those are in, then do your final financial report. Again, the closeout process internally is actually a two-step process. I can show you the process map, which is available publicly. So I'm going to go back over here. I'm now inside of Grants Online, and I want to get to my training pages, but I don't want to log out. How do I do that? Well, if you're in Grants Online and you want to get to the training page, all you have to do is click on this Help tab right here, and it opens up another window. Then there's a link on here that allows you to get to the training site. So here's our training page. I can get back to the training page, and I'm actually going to click on a link that's not for the recipients, but this is all publicly available, so you can have access to it. And I just want to show you this workflow process map so you can see what we go through internally when it comes to the closeout process. This is your part, the grantee part. You have to submit your final progress report and your final financial report. Both of those have to come into the agency and be accepted. Once both of those documents have been accepted, the project officer will get a notification from Grants Online that they both have come in and been accepted, and now they can start the closeout process. For the internal folks, this bottom part of the process map is what they go through in order to close out your award. They must go through this financial one first. This very top one is very rare. It's only for a very rare type of award that's in NOAA that is actually $0 on the award, but the award actually has a value because it has to do with certain fishing permits that fishermen are allowed to fish in restricted waters, and they can keep the funds that they receive from selling those fish. So it's a special program within NOAA that is done with a grant award, but there's actually no federal dollars on that award. So that's that top one. Is there a, yes?
Yes, there are two questions.
Two questions.
Someone says, what if we have a cost allocation plan?
If you have a cost allocation plan, I am going to throw that over to Bernadette, because she probably knows much better than I do what that is. So Bernadette, the question is if we have a cost allocation plan.
The question is, do we, or we have a cost allocation
plan? No, it says what if we have one. So what if the grantee has a cost allocation plan? What does that have to do with the closeout process?
So the cost allocation plan is specific to your indirect costs. And all you need to do is follow your cost allocation plan, your methodology, make sure that you are doing what you need to do according to the 2 CFR 200 regulations. So that's all very indirect cost specific.
Okay.
I'm not sure who the individuals cognizant agency is. The cognizant agency is the federal agency that gives that organization the most federal funding. If EDA is your cognizant agency, then I am the person you need to speak with if you have questions about that, because I am also the indirect cost coordinator for EDA. If another organization or another agency is your cognizant agency, I would talk to them to ask if you have any questions specific to closing out an award or anything like that. But essentially, you just need to reconcile your indirect costs to make sure that you haven't over-collected or under-collected on indirect expenses during the life of your award before closeout. So that's the financial part of it.
Okay, sure. So hopefully that has answered your question. If there are any additional questions, we can follow up with you after the webinar, sometime after the webinar. All right, are there any others?
Yes.
Okay, here's another question.
What process should we follow when someone with AOR access to Grants Online leaves our organization?
Good question. So, the question is again, what process should the recipient organization follow if their person with the AOR, or what we call sometimes an authorized representative, if that person leaves the recipient organization and that is the only person who has AOR access, what process should they follow? In that case, it depends upon if they have left after the award expired or if they have left prior to the award expiring. If the award has not yet expired, there is actually an award action request called Change Key Personnel. You should submit that award action request. Let's see if I have a grant that's open that we can look for that. I am going to go here to the awards tab. I'm going to search awards, and we're going to get one of the other awards that is not expired. So let's take a look at this one right here so that you can see. Notice the drop down is a little bit different for the one that's not expired. So I'm going to click on this that says Create Award Action Request. Scroll down, and here it is right here. Change in key person specified in the application. You should click on that particular link, fill out the information, and submit that particular award action request to let the folks in EDA know that you have to change your authorized representative. Once they have approved that particular request, then your recipient administrator can then go into the system and set up a different person with that role. They will not be able to remove the previous person until they set up a new person. The system requires that at least one person be set up for your organization with the role of the authorized representative. Now, if this person leaves after the award has expired, then again, you should probably contact your recipient, your EDA project officer, and let them know what has taken place. And you guys can discuss what you need to do. Our Grants Online Help Desk can help you, the recipient, help your recipient administrator to set up a new person without having to send in this particular award action request. That can be done. But if you need assistance from the help desk to do that, we are available to walk you through those steps. But if it is done without this particular award action request, our help desk needs some kind of a statement from your project officer to verify that we need to make that kind of a change for you. Okay, hopefully we have answered that question. Do you have another one? No? Okay, we're just checking to see if there are any other questions that we need to answer before we move forward.
Okay, for those groups who are not closing out and just starting, will you be walking through how to initiate funds, send reports, etc.?
Okay, so this particular question is for newer grantee who wants to know more of the earlier post-award processes that you would be doing, such as submitting your progress reports, your financial reports, those kind of things. This particular webinar is not going to walk through those processes, but we have actually recorded a couple of webinars that do. So I'm going to go back onto our training site. I'm going to go back to the grant recipient training resources. Under number 4, we have a grantee overview video, and then we have special interest topics, which are these 4 topics here, A, B, C, and D, that we have 2 videos to walk you through how to do those. We also have user manuals, so we have a system navigation manual, and then we have a very in-depth grantee recipient user manual that will walk you through all of those processes. So hopefully you can get any of your questions answered with those resources. This particular webinar that we're doing today is not going to walk through those earlier processes. Any other questions? All right, so that's it for right now. Let's go back and take a look at our agenda. Again, the administrative closeout. Let me go back to our process map one more time just so you can see what we're doing internally. So I'm going to go back to training, go back to our grants management and our grants management workflow. So again, when you're going through the closeout, you have submitted all of your documents. Internally, our person at EDA, your project officer, is going to initialize the financial closeout, which is basically sending a document through the approval process so that we can put a record into our financial system that says that this award is closed. We will go through the process of de-obligating any remaining funds that you have not drawn down, and then that will complete our financial closeout. But that does not close out the award completely. There's one more part that has to be done. We call that an administrative or manual closeout process. And basically what that is just a checklist of due diligence for your project officer. And they just go down this checklist to say yes, 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 or no, yes, no, not applicable, of various due diligence that they have to do as they are preparing to close out your award document. All right, so that is pretty much our closeout processes. Let me go. I'm going to do another poll now before we go into reassignments. So let's do another poll. In fact, I want to do 2. So I want to see how many of you have ever submitted a financial report in Grants Online. How many of you have done that? And quite a few, actually, so far. Of the people who have voted, several of you guys have submitted financial reports. That's good to know. In fact, 2/3 of you have yes, that you have submitted financial reports, and the other third is saying no. All right, we'll keep it open for just a couple more seconds because I want to ask the same question about progress reports. So we're going to see how many of you have actually submitted a progress report in Grants Online. All right, we're going to close out this one right here. Thank you for your votes. Now, let's see how many of you have actually submitted progress reports in Grants Online. And again, we have actually a majority of you saying yes. So we have some pretty mature federal recipients here when it comes to Grants Online. You've been in at least 6 months or more, and you have been able to submit reports using Grants Online, your progress reports and your financial reports. So very good, very good. It's a few less on the progress reports. We have about 58%, whereas we had, I think, closer to 60% on the financial reports. All right, very good. We're going to go ahead and close out this poll. Thank you for voting, those of you that did. And we're going to go to our next topic. Again, does anybody have any questions about closeout before I move on to the next topic?
Why don't we submit CEDS updates on Grants Online?
The question, Bernadette, is why don't we submit CEDS or CEDS, I think, updates and grants online?
So right now, we don't have a consistent mechanism for tracking that in Grants Online. So some of our regional offices have implemented a strategy around that, but it's not consistent. So that all of our CEDS documents are tracked outside of the system. So that's just something that's just how things are, unfortunately.
All right. At this point, right now, what I'm hearing Bernadette say is there's no bureau-wide EDA process policy now that these particular offices are using Grants Online. This Grants Online, again, was actually developed for NOAA, not for EDA, and so there was no mechanism developed in Grants Online to submit that particular type of document. And so because of that, right now, there is no policy right now, a process that is consistent across the Bureau for collecting those documents. So I'm hearing right now that you collect them outside of Grants Online right now, for the most part. And that may change sometime in the future. It could be an enhancement to the system, but right now we don't have that mechanism in the system. Any other questions?
That's it.
All right, that's it on the closeout questions. So let's go ahead and move on to the next item on our agenda, which is, I believe, reassignment. Reassignments. So we're going to talk about two types of reassignments. One is when you get a brand new award into the agency and you need to reassign it to a different AOR to accept. Because we are aware that sometimes in some grantee organizations, one particular person has the authority to submit an application to grants.gov, and when they do that, their name gets stamped on that application. And so when it comes into the Department of Commerce, into our system, Grants Online, we get that person's name stamped on the application. And so we process the application to go back to that specific person, because we don't actually have a separate credentialing process for our grantees in Grants Online. We pretty much piggyback on what you've had to do in grants.gov. And because of that, when an application comes into Grants Online from grants.gov, we use that same person on our workflow to send the award to for acceptance. However, we do realize that within the grantee organizations, many times there are reasons why that person should not be actually accepting the new award. It needs to go to someone else in your organization. And so there's a couple of ways to reassign that award task so that that can be done. So let me flip over now to our Grants Online system. And let's see, I am still logged in as one of our authorized reps. So I am now going to go to Inbox and Task. And right now I don't have a task to accept an award. However, if I go to Awards, search Awards, I do know that there is a new award task sitting in my agency somewhere, because I see this one now with a status that says pending acceptance. So let me show you two different ways that that award can be reassigned. The first way is to do it using the task management feature. If I don't have the task and I think the task needs to come to me, I can use the task management feature if I have the AOR role to move that task to me. So this is the award number right here. I'm going to copy this award number. I'm going to go to the Inbox tab, and I'm going to use this feature right here, Task Management. I'm going to change the criteria to the authorized representative, and I'm going to make sure I'm looking at the correct organization, and I'm going to paste that award number in here, and let's search. And there is the task, okay? So this task right here is with a different authorized representative, and I want to reassign it to myself, and I don't own it. So if I do that, to reassign it to myself without actually owning the task, I can look it up like I just did, click on the reassign option, then put my name in here, and I'm only putting part of my last name, and here's that task, select it, and then say yes. I want to reassign that task. Now let me look at my inbox, and I now have a task in my inbox, and I can now go through the process of accepting this award. Okay, so I can now click on View, and I have all the drop-down options I need to accept the award. The first thing I would do is view the award details. I'm going to view the award details and submit. Notice that you did not see an accept option. You must view the award details first before the system allows you to accept the award. So here's the award document. You have a bunch of links here. You would click on the link so that you can read all the terms and conditions. There's no save button because you're not making any changes. You just cancel off. You can click on this button if you need a PDF file of this document. We're going to go ahead and cancel off. And at this point, there is an accept award option. But I'm not going to accept it because I made a mistake and I really want that other person to accept this award. So how do I send it back to them? Well, I could use the same feature, task management, to reassign it back to that person. But also, on the drop-down options here, in the task, there's actually an option to reassign the acceptance of the award. So I can just simply select that option and submit. And then now I can choose from this drop-down another person in my organization and simply quickly reassign it to them that way. So those are the two different ways that you can reassign a task. Now, not all tasks have that reassign option, but the brand new award task does. If the task does not have a reassign option in the drop-down, you can always use the task management feature to reassign those tasks to someone else within your organization. Yvette, are there any questions on the reassignment? That's pretty simple. Those are the only two ways you can reassign the task. No questions?
No.
Wow, okay. So that was pretty quick. Let's go ahead and look at the next part. We've already gone over progress and financial reports fairly quickly. We did submit an ASAP drawdown request. The SF-270s, that's a little bit different. If you're not set up at ASAP, there is a feature in Grants Online to submit an SF-270 for payment. However, there are very, very few recipients that are not ASAP. And for the purposes of the demo, we do not have, I'm not using a non-ASAP recipient, I'm using an ASAP recipient. So this feature is not available to the ASAP recipient. So I'm going to go ahead and keep going. Let me look at the agenda. All right. Actually, we have gone through pretty much all of our agenda, and we have some time for Q&A. If there's any additional Q&A, or Bernadette, is there any other feature that you want me to go over or do something a little bit more in depth, that we have a little bit of time, or we can end early and give some time back to uh, our participants.
I can't think of anything specifically. I think we've covered a lot of ground so far, and I'd like to open it up for questions if people have any questions about anything we talked about today or anything else
Okay.
regarding Grants Online.
So we're just okay. So can they unmute themselves? I don't know. I think they're automatically muted by yes.
Or just tell me.
Okay. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and type it into the question box, the chat box. I will repeat the question and then try to answer it for you.
Does the reassign feature keep changes for the future, or does it need to be changed each time a task is entered?
Does the reassign feature keep changes for the future, or does it need to be re-entered? I'm not quite sure if I understand.
I think I know part of it. So
okay.
if you're reassigning a task, that's
yes.
just the task that's being reassigned. That's
yes.
not going to affect anything else moving forward. If you're
no.
reassigning an award, that's different, but you wouldn't be reassigning an award, I don't think.
Right, that's true. That's true. So when what Bernadette mentioned is correct. On the recipient side, the only thing you're actually reassigning is a task in your inbox to work on. And so if somebody else in your organization needs to work on that task rather than you, that is what that feature is for. Any data that may have been entered onto the screen before the task was reassigned will be retained as long as the person who did it entered the save button. So if some data got entered and then the task gets reassigned to another person, then the data will still be in there from what the original person put in, and then the new person can either change it or keep it and add some new data. But that's pretty much what will be happening with reassigning tasks. In the future, if another task comes in on that same award, it will come into the original people that got it. Let me just also provide some additional clarification on the tasks that come into Grants Online. Only the brand new award, when it comes into Grants Online, that's the only one that comes in only to the one person whose name is on the application. Once you have an award in Grants Online, any subsequent actions, amendments that come back to you, that come back to you to countersign, if you have set up multiple AORs in your organization, then multiple people, everybody will actually get a task for that action that comes in after the new award has been accepted. In those cases, when there are multiple people getting a task on the same action, when the first person selects that task from their inbox and selects something from the drop-down, they become the owner of the task, and then it goes away out of the inboxes of everyone else. So then only that person has something to work on. If they look at it and they realize that it really should go to someone else, they now have to reassign that task if somebody else needs to work on it. Okay, I hope I've answered the question. We have some more questions coming in. All right.
Okay, so you have to submit the ASAP request in the ASAP system and in the NOAA system both.
Yes, you do. Let me show you a process map to explain that a little bit better. All right, let me go to post-award workflow. This one right here, your ASAP drawdown request. So here's the workflow for an ASAP drawdown request. It is initiated by the business person or the authorized representative in your organization. They will create the request before they get into ASAP. They get into Grants Online first. They click on that link to create that ASAP drawdown request. They also upload their SF-270 if that's required, and then they forward it on. If they're not the authorized representative, they forward to that person. If they are, they can just come forward to the agency. Once it gets into EDA, your project officer will review it. They may send it for further review within the agency, but eventually they will accept hopefully, if they haven't sent it back for you to redo it, hopefully they will accept the request. Only when they click the accept button in Grants Online will a next task come in fact, this is not a task, this is actually a notification that comes back to your organization that says they have accepted this request. Now you can go into ASAP and submit your request in ASAP. While you get that notification, a task goes into the NOAA Finance Office for them to release this request. So you get a notification to go in and make the request. The ASAP person gets a task to release it. So they're checking ASAP. When they see that request in ASAP, they're going to go in and release it, and that is the point in which you will get your funds. So hopefully we have explained that. Another question, Yvette?
Hold on, I'm getting this one.
Okay.
Oh gosh. Can you navigate to a PDF of your contract with the EDA?
So your award, yes, you want to get a PDF version of your award file. Let me go back here. I'm going to use my breadcrumbs, and I'm just going to go back to this particular grants file right here. Oh, no, this one is still being accepted. I haven't accepted that one. Let me go to the one that we accepted. I don't remember whether it was 6 or 5. Okay, there is 5. This one is one that has been accepted. From the grants file, I would scroll down on this page to award package. Click on the ID number beside award package, and then click on this link that says go to the package details. This is your award document, and down at the bottom, there is a button that says CD 450 report, and it creates that PDF that you're looking for. Hopefully that has answered your question. If you need any of these other documents in PDF, you have to click on each link. So when you click on this button, it only creates a PDF of this page right here. Once you have actually accepted the award, the system creates a PDF for you. So once the award is accepted, you could actually click on this link, which is the same thing as what I just opened. It is a PDF file of this page. Okay, another question?
And a friendly reminder, I heard the language contract. We do not do contracts. I just want people to make sure that they're using the right language when they're talking about their awards with EDA. Their grants or their cooperative agreements or award. Any of those three are fine, but usually grant or award is better.
Yeah, so there's
not contract.
Major difference in the federal government between grant awards and contracts. And so, yes, we have different types of people who process those documents. In EDA, you have grants, awards, or cooperative agreements. Okay? Another question?
Hold on. Okay, let me just move to this one. I think I've gotten them all, but let me just whip that.
Okay, we're just checking now, looking through your questions to see if there are any others that we have not yet answered.
Okay, everyone seems happy right now.
All right, it looks like we have answered all of the questions that have come in. We're so happy you were able to join us. We do hope that this was informative and helpful for you. I have one more poll before you go. So let me go ahead and open that last poll. And This will help me out as the Grants Online Operations Manager to let me know what annoys you most about our system. We recognize it is not a cutting-edge modern system. It actually went live back in 2005, so it is pretty old technology, but we're trying to make improvements each time we put a new release out, and if we know the things that are most difficult for our customers, those are the areas that we will focus on to try to make them a little bit easier for you. So we thank you for attending this particular webinar. Again, we hope it was informative, and we will follow up with any questions come in that we have not yet answered. We will also post on our training page. Let me point this out to you. This is very important. On our training page for our grantees, this, under that same number 4 where we post our videos, we have a list of all of our webinar questions and answers. So we keep a running list of these questions that come through our chats during the webinar, and we try to answer them, and we post them. We update this particular list, and we will update them later on with the questions from this particular webinar. So you can always go back and look at questions that other grant recipients have asked about some of these topics and see what our answers are. So we thank you very much. We have a few people that have polled. It looks like it's not easy to navigate. We do recognize that. We're going to work on that some more as much as we can. But we thank you for participating, and we are now going to close out the webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day.